वो हटा दिया अभी फिर मेरा वो गंदा हेयर कट काटा.
Oh, crazy. Okay, वैसे I've started recording, so it's fine. Yeah, so today I'm here with my friend and roommate, friend first and roommate second, obviously, with Dave. And when I was thinking about doing this whole podcast, and even before wherever I've been in my journey, he's been somebody who's literally physically been a constant. He's been there throughout the journey, been there to, like support me to, be the devil's advocate whenever needed. And he would sort of be the soundboard for so much that's going on in my life. And that made me think that, wherever, at least for me, this holds true that, your support system and your friendships matter so much. And we've discussed this so many times that how while we were growing up, those friendships are so different than the adult friendships. And I was like, yeah, let's make a whole episode around this because like I feel very fortunate that you guys are around me and the kind of friends I have. And then when somebody tells me that they're struggling with the kind of friendships they have, then it makes me wonder, and it also makes me feel like, bro, you're missing out on so much. Even when I thought of this person, I probably said it in a joke that, dude, let's do something. And you were like, yeah, let's fucking do it. And oh, thank you so much for being here today, for agreeing to talk to me, and more than that, for always supporting me. What are you feeling like? What's the vibe?
I'm feeling good. It's a first for me as well. I always, firstly, thank you as well for giving me this opportunity, and it's an honor to be in this podcast and to be talking to you. And yeah, we have grown together so much for the last 3-4 years. Life as we have seen all the ups, all the downs. We have had moments of joy, moments of you've seen me in my best, you've seen me in my worst too, and been there in both, enjoyed one, been there to like reduce the pain in some cases as well. So yeah, I think that's the beauty of what we have built here in our life here. And yeah, I'm feeling good. It's a first for me as well. To So yeah, let's see how it goes. It sounds very
This is a part of our history. This is a part of the history of the whole friendship and all of that. We met on Tinder, and then it was so funny that we met like that, and then it just became a very beautiful friendship eventually. And regardless of whatever was going on and all of that, it was just like a very comfortable space that we shared. And also, like, we earlier used to live in the same building, and then just one thing led to another, and we ended up sort of living in the same house. And there's always this sort of inhibition when two friends move in together, that like whether sort of, because obviously we are very different people in our own ways. And there was, at least I did have like a little bit of reservation or concern that how would this turn out. And like not that this was a major part of it, but there was also like that, okay, there is some chemistry, there is some sort of tension. So how would that play out, and will that ruin our friendship in any way? So with regards to that, did you ever have any reservations, any concerns, or
So to start off, firstly, I've never lived with a roommate before you. I've never had an
Oh yeah,
experience.
same here. Fuck. Oh
So
yeah,
I've never
crazy.
yeah. So I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. See, you know this about me. I'm a bit of a people's person. I like people. Like in general, I like interacting with people, talking to people, being around people. Like I feel I learn a lot from everyone around me. And sometimes I feel that I can emit certain things which people can catch and like too. So it works both way. And for me, somewhere I'm always excited for new opportunities more than scared about things. Like, of course, there are certain things in your mind. You can replay a lot of things before it happens as to how it's gonna happen. Like
Mm-hmm.
about our case, and then even after that, when I've stayed with other people, it always is like, okay, how is this one gonna be? And then people are like, might be like this, might be like that. So it's okay. Like we can just have that experience and then decide for ourselves how it was in the end. Like even if everything doesn't have to be good, first if you take a pressure that okay, this happens, if it not doesn't work, it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. Once you have that kind of a mentality, you're open to trying, and you're like, you come in with a fresh mindset that it's okay, we'll see
Yeah.
how it goes. And yeah, to me as well, like firstly, like I've never lived with someone, and it happened by chance as well. The way we
Yeah.
became, because I actually took your room when I was coming as a sublet, so I didn't
Oh
even know I
yeah.
would.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah,
like it was
actually.
chance, it was like nature's play, you can say, in some way, because I was meant to replace you in your room for a few months and then to find my own. And then
Mm-hmm.
the other room that you have, the one you were living with, actually moved out and I moved there. And it was, yeah, it was like a no-brainer at that point because of the house we have, the area, everything is so good. And so yeah, about that, like having live with friends, I've seen people who have destroyed friendships living together, because what
Yeah.
happens is, like, a little bit of distance keeps sanity. But if we see in relationships, like people getting mad, like, after when it starts, everything is so flowery, so good. But when we spend
Mm-hmm.
a lot of time to people, like, things can get entangled and it can go to another levels. But with us, it didn't go to that level. I'm very like happy for that and thankful for that. But it is a two-way thing. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot, I cannot do that alone, you cannot do that alone. So,
Right.
and I think what's most important here is to kind of, like, what I figured out in my journey is that there are two aspects to it. One aspect is that you have to let go of small things first. Like,
Right.
that there are two kind of issues that can arise. There's some issues which, like, are small, and today it might feel like, wow, this is such a big issue and it's troubling me. This happened. How can
Mm-hmm.
he? How can she do it? And 2 days later, you would have no memory of it, or it won't affect you in any way. But in the
Right.
moment when you react, when you talk about it, if you react, if you show that kind of discontent to other person, in their mind it would stay for longer. Because for me, I just said it and you were like, okay, he's having a problem with this, it'll grow. Like, it was in my mind for 2 days, it might be in your mind for 7 days. So there's
Mm-hmm.
certain, you should first see how is it even affecting you that much. Like, we are very
Mm-hmm.
reactive. Once, like, something small happened which is against, like, what we expected to, we are there to react, and we do that. But then there are certain issues which develop over time, and, like, they keep affecting you for a longer period of time. So those are the issues you need to address as well. Like, you need to get in a conversation mode, you have, and find a good time, hear out the other
Mm-hmm.
perspective, talk about it. And I think that's something we managed to do pretty well. Like, we might have had, like, these small issues which we both kind of overcame, and we knew the friendship or the bond that we have was beyond this. Like, these
Yeah, of
small issues,
course. Of course.
today it might feel like a big deal, but in a couple of days it would be gone. So it's not worth,
Mm-hmm.
like, bringing it to other
Right.
people and including him in whatever you're feeling. But there are certain things which develop over time, and, like, 9 days, 10 days, 15 days, sometimes months, and you kind of let it
Mm-hmm.
go and see it is affecting you, and those things are better addressed and solved for good. So yeah, I think as friends, as roommates, we managed to maturely handle all of it, and yeah, we've come out good from that so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the communication was always sort of,
Yeah.
clear since the beginning. But more than that, I think we were both very compatible also in the sense that you are a very, like, you're a very chill guy. You'll be in your zone and, like, I think what works best is like the sort of dynamic because I know that, sometimes it's so non-verbal also that that okay, yeah, like we might stay in the same house, but we don't talk because we don't feel the necessity ki, oh yeah, we need to make conversation or whatever. Because like I think that is also something we caught on really well with each other that okay, is this person in the zone? And then obviously from time to time we do have like those check-ins that like we haven't spent time together, so let's go out, do something, or like absolutely what you said, that there will be small things, but it's your choice whether you want to hold on or you want to overlook, because in the end of the day, like what matters is that this person is still very valuable to me, very important to me. So do I be resentful, or do I just sort of either address it if it's that big of an issue? And yeah, in my memory, we've only like, had two conversations literally, which I think in my personal opinion, it's a very big deal that, when two people are living together, like it's very natural for friction and all of that to happen. But I think we've managed really well in letting go because obviously I'm no saint, you're no saint. So there might be small things, but Yeah, so that is what I really admire in you, in myself, that yeah, I think it's very clear that okay, this is not worth our time and energy. So, and if it is, then we address it. So
Yeah.
that's that. And from there, I want to, like, since we are talking about this, I also wanted to ask you that how do you think our friendship has evolved since we became roommates and, started living together? And if any, what were the challenges or adjustments that you've had to made, like along the way? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we have come a long way from where we started from being roommates. So ultimately, so when we spend so much time together, like you, so we it as like it's very easy to kind of see someone on the surface and make your judgments. That's what we tend to do when we meet people like in the start. And when you spend more and more and more time with them, you kind of see where things are coming from, like whatever they are emitting, like you start to go to the depth of things and not
Mm-hmm.
just be on the surface. That okay, if
Mm-hmm.
this person, like when I first met you, okay, you could do this, and I'll be like, okay, this person is like that. And then when you meet, like when a lot of time passes, you can like see where everything is coming from. So in that sense, I think our friendship has evolved. Like we've, as you said, like we've grown together in that sense. And the version that we both were like 3-4 years back when we met, like I don't know if either of us can even relate to that in
Yeah,
to
of
some
course.
extent. So we have had our own separate journeys as well, and there was some like intermingling of that journey as well in that sense. Like for me, I think met a lot of wonderful people, include like you, and then through you as well, which has like no, so like when I come into your life or you come into my life, it's not just the direct like addition that you do in my life. Like indirectly, there's so many
Mm-hmm.
things like which was like a ripple effect of us meeting, and then like I'm meeting someone else, then that person making me meet someone else, have this experience in some way. Like so yeah, I think and also what I feel, the way I've adjusted to things is kind of I've understood, firstly, as I said, I've never lived with any other human being before, so I've learned adjustment a little bit more in general in life, that you know that is important in every relationship, in the sense that you
Mm-hmm.
realize to give the space to other people, that again I'm not in here to just for my needs, like for what I want. Like you need to also sometimes stop and look at the other side of things to make any relationship like thrive. Like the
Right,
moment two people are like, what am I getting, at the end no one gets anything. So like
right.
you need to keep some space for what are you getting and some space for what are you contributing. So, and I think that's something wonderfully we both managed to did in that sense. And yeah, I think in like what 4 years, and through this, and having been like living with someone for the first time, I think now I'm way more confident when I'm meeting new people. I have plans to like kind of live with someone else, that okay, I know
Right.
the tricks of the trade, you can say, and chip into
Yeah.
a way. And I think it's wonderful. Like it helps my personal relationships, helps my friendships, and yeah, overall everything.
Thank you. That's so kind of you. But yeah, like for me also, I think it's been so similar in the way that I've been living out of home for what, say around 10 years now. 10 years is a long time. And out of that, only living with, I mean, yeah, before you, there was obviously who lived in your in the room where you were in. But yeah, before that, I didn't have any experience of sharing the space with somebody. And now I can, like, obviously, I know that, nothing's permanent, but I really, this is so precious to me that, yes, I am a very individualistic person, not in a negative sense, but I enjoy having my space and all of that. But then with respect to this, I was like, no, this is perfect as it is. And, like, I wouldn't want to, move to a place and be by myself because, like, in the simplest terms, this adds so much value to my life, and my quality of life is so much better when you are in the house. And, like, like I said, it's not even about communicating, it's the energy that somebody brings into the space. And yeah, I feel very fortunate again to be around someone like you. And I think that's something we've both worked very hard to build in our individual capacities, so obviously credit to that. So yeah, with while we're talking about that, can you share, like, for you, what was the most say something that you remember significantly, or a story or an example of a time in our friendship, or whatever, like something that you're like, okay, this is a defining moment in our friendship, and then I'll share
Yeah. So there have been many. So in 4 years, there have been many
mine.
moments in which, that, like, and as you said, we both are two different personalities. So sometimes what we complement each other in ways that, you are used to your ways. There are certain things I am used to my ways. And like it works for you, your way, my way works for me. But certain times, when I reach a kind of a dead end in my way, like you can get the inspiration from the other way that, okay, like we can do
Hmm.
things like this as well. Like it gives you a perspective. For example, like I know I'm a bit more like, I know you are a good risk taker, like you're a kind of a go-getter, which is a very good thing about you, like which is a positive I admire about you. Like you if you set your mind to something, like you make things work for you to get you that. And for me, in some ways, I feel like I have other things, I have a lot of skills, but one thing which I feel is lacking in me is to just like kind of go out there and execute. Like things stay in my mind more than it gets executed in the field. So like that, this really is something which I'll pick from you. I'm still picking from you in some way. And those have like small decisions in your life has an impact. Like you won't even realize, like there's certain, if there's a thought making, and I'll see you do that all 10 days in my life. Okay, yeah, wow, she could so easily do it, kind of a thing, and I'm here just thinking about it. To be very honest, in this podcast, I've been thinking of podcasting for some time now, because, and like look at you here, you are just kind of manifesting what you really wanted, and it's still in my mind to be doing that. So when I see you do small little things with ease, you are like, okay, it's not that bad, just go out and try.
Hmm.
And there have
Yeah.
been moments in my life where I've been at that point that, just take the leap. And that point I've been like, okay, if she would have been here, she would have done this. And
That's
what
so
was the
cute.
worst that could have happened, that if she hadn't
Hmm.
done it? And it worked out. And even if it doesn't, at least it gives you like, it takes you out of that comfort zone for times that you want to. And talking about specific moments, for example, the Dubai trip, I still believe it was a bit like life changing for me in some way,
Epic.
because like at that phase, I was in that phase in my life. At that point, things had happened that, I was not really motivated to do something. Like I
Hmm.
was like, yeah, like kind of reeling with my own stuff, like just um kind of getting over certain things, like spending time with myself, but not really motivated to take the charge of things in my own hand. And yeah, like, I remember you kind of bribing me with food to convince me to come to Dubai, which was very random. Like there was no purpose for you from to me to have me there as well. It was you were meant to go see your sister in that trip, and it was like a lot of persistence over a week, 2 weeks. And I it was like I had no plans to go to Dubai in a week. And then I didn't even, so it was out of my comfort zone. 2 years back, me wouldn't have done this. Like,
Hmm.
a trip you don't have, which you have not planned, and suddenly just wake up one day and be like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to Dubai. I'm flying off a plane in 3 days, like skydiving. So yeah, these kind of impacts, like it's still like when I came out of that, this was the push that I needed. And
Hmm.
how did I get it? It
True.
was kind of perseverance from your end to kind of make me do that, and also that push that I had to bring from myself. Like, what would happen? Let's just go. Let's just see. It would be good. Like I have a friend with me. Even if I don't feel well, she'll be there. Like
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
like I'll be
yeah.
alone and I'll face things. So yeah, that like it's a trigger that starts happening once you take one leap. Like other things fall
Yeah.
into place. Yeah. So that was the big example I
So
could
sweet.
I
Wow,
do.
nice. About that, I just like, I think that was around the same time when I it was last October, yes, and it was obviously for me also there was a lot going on because I was quitting my job, and there was like I might not have, like you said, that making it look easy. I think that is kind of my brand by now, and I'm very much owning it. But that's not the truth for me because like there's so much that goes on, and like every moment I'm like, okay, if this doesn't work out, then what? And like you're giving up so much, and like the comfort, the security, and in all of that, whatever was happening, I was like, okay. So what matters to me right now is to obviously, like, go see Stavya. And I think around that time I was also starting to realize that is when the appreciation started increasing for, people like you, Rita, Ekta, who've just, like, who've always been there to sort of, push and say that go, do your thing, sort of a narrative. And then because I was spending so much time away from home also, and by home I obviously mean Paris. So yeah, I was just like, I want to spend time with this person also. I don't know what's happening in my life, but even being around them gives me a sense of security that it's okay, take it by the day, and then it's all gonna sort of fall in place. And yeah, for me, it was more around that, like, I didn't know how to put it in words, but I was like, Dave, fucking, let's go to Dubai. We are never going to get these kind of cheap tickets or opportunity, or, like, we being hosted and all of that. So I was like, and yeah, I think somewhere it was more for my selfish needs that I want to spend more time with you. And, like, somehow that's not happening because you're in your zone, I'm in my zone. And that was also recently, I think that was sometime around the same timeline where, you were going through a personal crisis. And, like, it had just been so that, okay, maybe I never said this in words, but I was like, okay, your time is being divided. And it's not that, like, we would sit together every day or whatever. But, like, yes, I did feel that, okay, yeah, I think we need to sort of, reconnect and spend more time together. And, what's gone is gone, but, like, what's there, let's make it, like, the best that we have. And I think for me that Dubai trip was also very, very special. And I think that was the first, no, before that I did it for Lil, but, like, yeah, doing that, like, fucking international trip and, like, very ZNMD moment that let's
Mhm.
do it. If it's come in the mind, let's make it reality. So for me, that was a very defining moment too. But then,
And
like, if I had to, sorry, go ahead.
sorry, like as you said, for the ZNMD moment, I said, yeah, like we skydive too, and that was one of my fears. Like you were so calm,
Okay.
you were like the Hrithik Roshan in the flying out of that. And I was like the Farhan actor who is like,
Okay.
how would I do this? And like we ended up doing it.
Hmm.
Magical, yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice trip. I'm very grateful that we were able to do that. For me, what was defining were the two clearings that we had around whatever issues that we were going through. Because the fact that you were receptive to all of that, and obviously we had our, like, we were coming from two very different perspectives, but it just made me respect you so much that yes, this is somebody who wants to take a problem, sit at the table like an adult and solve it, instead of, building that resentment. And because it happens, like, and with friends especially, you don't want to hurt their feelings, and you don't want to, say something that might not land well, whereas you know that it affects you. So I think that for me was very special because the way we spoke about it also, and we were allowed to get mad at each other, and, like, it's not that we were being respectful all the time and like you did this, and all of that is fine because, like, you're doing it for a reason. You're doing it to get it out of your system and then say that, okay, done. Now what? How do we go forward? And that is such an admirable quality because I genuinely feel it's very rare, and more so because, like, we're an internet generation and everybody wants sort of like instant gratification, and, they behave like the problem does not exist. I think that was very defining. And obviously and that was, I think that was only the first one was probably a month after we started living together. And then the next was much later. So, like,
Yeah.
that one discussion sort of evened out the path for maybe the next 1.5, 2 years. And then the next time that it happened, then again, like, it was entirely my fault, like, because of me. So just for context, I didn't lock his cycle, and, I was borrowing his cycle to go to work and all, and I didn't lock it because I assumed that, we live in a safe building and all of that. And then, yeah, it got whacked off basically. When you called me to tell me about it, I wasn't in a place, I wasn't in a space where I could take that. So, that instant, you need to hear this because you fucked up thing was also not there, but you dealt with it with a lot of grace. And, when I came back, then we did have that conversation. And that was sort of the trigger. And, we addressed everything else also that wasn't working. So for me, it would definitely be that.
Yeah, I think the beauty of adult relationships is, and especially like you can call the friendship that has now become as adult, but we started off as the child friendships. You can say like we have evolved through it. So, so yeah, you can say you grow like when it's like child friendships, you're most about like who do you have most fun with, like where do you enjoy the most, like who's cooler, like who's cooler to hang out with, who can give you a kind of a good social status, like and everything. And the difference between the friendships that like when you grow up you build is that they have seen the journey of life that you have seen to some extent as well. They have evolved in some own ways, and the needs that you come on in that friendship and what you give to the friendship also changes. Like here now you're looking for stability, things like there you have to do a lot to make friendships work. At after and we're both adults, you both realize that life has so much you need to work on, your career, your relationships, or everything. Friendships should be something you like which should flow easier. Like you still have things to work on, but like it shouldn't be a pain in itself that you have to keep working on it every day. You have to keep talking to them every day, like fuel and kind of maintain things. Like you have to make a lot of efforts to kind of just be in contact with someone, and if you don't do this, okay, this would go away. Like you don't have those fears, and you kind of realize that you're there because both people find value. Like it's not like you are there to gain something from it, or just the other person is here to gain something from it. You both realize that there's value. That's why you both chose to stuck around, invest your time, like and and yeah, I think it's a lot more about giving than just taking, which the like a youthful us, that's what our brain looks for, like where we can find this, where can I find this. And then through those feelings you realize that you'll automatically get something from the other person. You don't need to think about it. Like
Right.
you should more think about what you can contribute the other person's life,
Absolutely.
because by just doing that you won't realize that you would have grown in your own way in that sense. So, and yeah, I think it's very different, it's fun, it feels like an evolved version of yourself because you have grown in your life as well. And yeah, it's beautiful what we have built here with the people around us. Like it gives meaning to life some days when other things cannot, they don't work your way. So, and yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
what I feel about it.
I think I totally agree that it's only been very recently that, you know, we've even, or at least I've even started finding that differentiation, because obviously my friends from earlier are very close, and like they'll always be very precious to me. They are and they will be, like I said. But then there is a stark difference because they've seen me as a version that does not exist anymore. And this is probably the realest it can get. And it's getting more and more real. So, like, when, for example, if I meet my friends from school and childhood, it almost feels like a reintroduction that I have to do with them. That, okay, this is who I am today. And, like, I don't know if this is going to be the same person in 6 months, but like, it just feels like at in some moments it feels very disconnected to who I am today. When like, and it's not with all of them. Obviously, you always have these certain kind of people who are who'll meet you after say even 10 years and hug the version of you that exists in those 10 years. But like sometimes it gets so difficult and it gets so challenging, like there's sort of this gap which is there and you won't be able to probably fill in, because either you've moved to ahead in your journey, or they've become a very different person from who you thought, who you last met, I would rather say. And yeah, for me it has been like that with you guys. And like I've told you guys so many times that you guys are my chosen family, and that really means so much because it I think the way we are with each other, we're so real, and we're so. I just remembered that and it's just the level of comfort that you can you can just fart around these people and you can say whatever the fuck you want to, and you don't have to feel like, like, and the other person will just be like, yeah, yeah, just do your thing. If you want to fart, you fart, like, because it's natural. And like it, so that whole comfort is at a next level. And like, there's no sort of inhibition that what will they think. And the kind of support I think is just fucking phenomenal. For me, it's personally been like that. So, there's no need to constantly be in touch, because like when we both are away, then we hardly talk to each other, hardly keep in communication. And that sort of just gives the confidence that, like, even 10 years down the line, no matter what, this person is going to be there. And that is the sort of security, the stability, the safety that it comes with. So, of course, it's very, very, very precious.
like friendship is not a marketplace that when you enter into a place you don't think that, okay, this I'm going to take this, like if I can take this from you and give only this, I'm in the profit side. There are people who enter relationships, friendships, any like two human interactions thinking what I'm going to gain out of it and how little do I have to give to gain that. But that's a marketplace where you go to make profits. Friendship is not like that, relationship is not like that. Like, it's what I think you should focus is on what you can give. And trust me, in that process, if you let go of what you are getting all the time, you will find your value. And if you feel after a prolonged time that you have invested and there's no value in it, it's okay to move away. Every friendship, it's not a waste of investment because you learn. Sorry. But so yeah, I think the major thing that I have learned is firstly a sense of like not overthinking about what am I getting and not being very calculative, because nature has its way of balance things. Like at the end, there would have been days where I felt, okay, like, am I being like, are things taken away from me? Am I on the losing side? You have seen like that there have times have come where, if you remember, for our friendship, for that moment was very special for me. I remember when, I had the injury in the leg, and I fell down. So for context, I broke my ligament while playing basketball, and it was a painful 2-3 weeks. I had to be taken to the emergency in the hospital. And when I sorry, yeah, when I fell down, the only person I could think of was I called you, and like you had already left from where we were, and I was like, you have to come back and take me. Like, it was so funny. Another thing, like I was in the bed for 2 weeks. I had all my friends around me, you, Hisham, Ardita. They would like, someone would come get me some groceries, someone would come get me medicines. I remember like I just tagged you in some random post in Facebook saying that person whose name starts with S has to treat you with biryani. You fucking made biryani the next day and got for me. So there are moments like this. So you won't know when is it like the other person's turn to kind of add value to your life. So at times it's very easy for people to like just sit and see, okay, in the past 1 month I've been doing this for the other person. What is the other person? What has he done for me? Kind of a thing. So when you are in friendships which are meant to be longer, which is not a short-term thing, you'll find like you'll have your swings. Even if you have invested more in the first 4 months, you will start to see in the next 6 months, like the nature gives them more chances to kind of add value to your life, to be in there for you when you need it. So like instead of being over calculative in the beginning, just let it flow. Like focus on what you can add value to the other person's life. And if it's meant to be for long, trust me, you will get enough time. And if you have invested well enough, you'll like nature would give you enough times where you would end up needing them, and they would show why you have invested all of this time into this. And yeah, like most important things, like keep your communication thing going. Like they are humans in their own sense. They will err, like you will err, they will err. You learn from your experiences, they learn from theirs. So have that conversation of what's troubling you, if it's a prolonged thing, and also learn to let small things go. Like something which you won't like, if it feels like a big deal today, but in 2 days it will go, just give it that time to see if it's a small thing or a big thing. If it automatically goes away in 2 days, in 3 days you don't feel a thing about it, there's no need to raise issues and just create problems which is not there. Because today it might feel like, oh wow, it's such a big deal, and tomorrow it's gone. And you transmitted that to the other person. They are thinking, okay, why is he thinking like that? What did I do? And like and but there are issues which which trouble you over and over again. Sort them out,
Hmm.
get into a room, have a conversation as to what you can do better, what they can do better, which you would like,
Right.
and yeah, be receptive on both ends to see how you can work
Hmm.
things out together, instead of giving tasks to the other person, or like taking some for yourself, like like kind of figure out the problems together and make,
Yep.
and
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
just be loving in that sense. Like if you're loving, if you're adding value to someone's life, it's meant to work out, it would anyway.
One thing that is the biggest contribution in your personal growth and development that you take from our friendship, what would that be?
The one thing, there are many in that sense, but the topmost one that I can think of is uh, I think the amount of time that we spend together. I think the kind of thing of about adjustment in general in life, that giving the space for other person's feeling as well, and
Hmm.
in a more personal front, just being more kind of just making decisions without thinking too much at times, and just follow your heart in some sense in every small bit of
Hmm.
life. Like
Hmm.
sometimes you live more in your mind than in reality, so just like a check to kind of come back to reality.
Great. And for me, it would be that if there's one thing that I give you absolute, absolute, absolute credit for in life is I always used to be sort of agitated or irritated by somebody else's action. And in those moments, I think that this is something that I learned from you. You were just like, it's fine. He's the way he is, or she's the way she is. They are the way they are. If you look closely, maybe there's something you can learn from them too. And like you said it in a very, like, matter of factly way. It wasn't making me feel bad about, like feeling whatever I was feeling. Like you did make me feel valid in whatever I was feeling. But at the same time, you just said that try, maybe, like maybe there's something of value there also. And you've been like this for everybody, everybody, everybody. And this is something that I've absolutely learned from you. I have, I have lived these values because of you.
Yeah, I'm happy if I could help you, but yeah, sounds right.
Yeah. What do you think is the most uh, like a quirk that that you've observed in this person, like this person meaning me?
I think the quirk that I can think of, let me think. Um, I think, yeah, like there are days when you just wake up and you're a different person. Like it's like, okay, just tomorrow, like day after tomorrow, this is. It's like, for example, and it's not like, I'm not saying this is a negative or something, but it's surprising for me because I'm a bit more consistent in things. Like, okay, I've been feeling this. I want to do this for a year, for 2 years, for
Oh,
3 years.
crazy.
With you, like you can see that, okay, just day before yesterday you wanted to do this, and today suddenly you wake up and you felt something, and like you communicate that, and like you were convinced now, okay, this is what I want to do, which was totally different was something 2 days back. So for someone me who's very different in this aspect, it's a different change. Like okay, just tomorrow it was something else, today is something else. So that's a fun thing. Yeah, it's something different. That's a point of difference that we have, and it's fun to have that other perspective.
Crazy. Nice, nice, nice that you would associate that. It's very interesting. I think for me it would like I notice a very different version of you when we're around people, and then suddenly you become like this 15-year-old and you are in your element. Like, because normally in our conversations you are 90% of the time like you're like this, like like this conversation, very wise and very calm and sage and all of that. And suddenly, like, it's like basically like for an audience, I was like, interesting. So I think I find that
I
very
think
funny and very cute in many ways that, okay, there is this child which wants to sort of, like get out and play, but then I think it has its own space. Like, okay, this is not my playground and this is my playground sort of a thing. I think that's very quirky about you.
you should let the child die as well, right? It should be nurtured in a separate way. You can adult as much as you want, but there's a
Yeah.
part of you, it should be raw and like which should be
Yeah.
childish as it was when you were growing up. And to leave that space, I think it's very important in life. And yeah, you have seen
Mm.
that version. I don't think a lot of people have, like,
Mm.
and that's which is also important in some days. Like, just every day you cannot be a wise person. Every day you cannot wake and just be in a growth mindset. Some days you just have to come up and be like, just today is about me being a child. Like, just bear with it.
Right. What do you think is the best part that really works for me and something that I would definitely need to, like pay more attention to in order to, like whatever, to have a better life or whatever?
I think what works for you is being authentic in yourself, in the sense that like I feel you have very less filters compared to any other people that I know. Like, it for at least for me, it's easier to look through you than to other people, because like you're more genuine. Like if you're feeling this, you say it. Like you don't shy away from saying what you feel. Like even awkward conversations sometimes between other friendships, like we both, like that I have with other people, both of us tend to be in a space where there are things boiling up, but you cannot talk about it because
Mm.
who takes the initiative to do that? So you're bold enough to do all of that. Like even be it about, like, kind of addressing love also, like expressing your love, and
Mm.
also expressing problems or any need that you might have or
Mm.
anything. But you don't hold back, which is a very good quality that you have. And you can kind of express yourself in a like freer state. It helps you make like good relationships, meet, like it attracts people towards you. And through you I could meet so many people, just because you were like, you could build that first touch. And I think that we complement also each other, because in some way this I've always felt, that you are very good at building first connections, going to meet people, and I'm not the best at that, but I'm also good at
Beautiful.
like nurturing those relationships.
Yeah.
Like after, like, for example, I remember your brother was here and you were not even here. So I couldn't have met him if you were not
Mm.
involved. But then, like,
Yeah.
we managed to build something. Like in the 7 days we interacted so much. I've met so many other
Mm.
people. Like in my couch every day I would wake up and there would be someone new sleeping, and you're like, okay, hello, who's this now? And I would know, okay, you met someone, they came. And like I'm still in touch with so many of them, like even like
Yeah.
after like things like times past, like your friends, so many of them I've met and I've managed to make those connections. So I feel in
Mm.
personal, like I am good at like nurturing relationships that I have, but I'm not very good at the first connect. In that sense we kind of complement each other
Mm.
as well. So yeah, that works for you.
Yeah.
And um, what you can improve for me, I think like there's a kind of a middle spectrum to all of it. So there's a good part to being like spontaneous, to doing exactly what you're feeling at the moment. But when you go towards one end of the spectrum, there's some balances that also need to come from the other end. Like
Mm.
sometimes thinking a bit forward. Like no, I'm not saying live in the future. I'm not saying like just
Mm.
delve yourself into it and just keep thinking about the future like we do. But there's some element which you should also to kind of,
Mhm.
like, it's my was that you should also incorporate certain things in your life where you plan a bit more ahead, like in the sense that, okay, this is good right now, have a little bit of plan B's if it doesn't work out. It's just to sustain your energy to kind of do whatever you want at the moment,
Mm.
because sometimes it can be a roadblock. So just a little bit of more planning, that okay, I'm gonna be spontaneous, but worst case I have this to fall back to. So that a bit
Mhm.
of more kind of realistic mindset will kind of, I think, will help you balance certain things and make it more profound, your experience. Yeah.
I've
And
been
yeah, this
thinking
thing
about
for
that. I don't know if I'll actually apply it, but I have been thinking about it. I was like, maybe now you're like, a little older, maybe time to balance. And then a part of me is like, no, fuck it.
not even balance. Like it's good to keep your energy in that sense, but like in certain things, maybe finances, for example, like
Hmm.
you would want to be in a space where you won't have to think about it every day.
Yeah,
So a
yeah,
little bit of
yeah.
thinking about the future. Okay, if this is taken care of, like I know I can do everything else spontaneous. Like it won't hold
Mm.
me back from being spontaneous in the future, because sometimes you can reach dead ends with that, where you're like, okay, I want to do all this, but right now there's no way I can do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Mhm. Definitely, definitely something I need to work on. No, and for you, I think the best part I've already said this throughout this conversation. You are a very calm, gentle person, very loving person, and like there's this whole concept of a feminine energy that is so unique about you. That is so like when I tell my friends about you and everything that you come with, that if you want to cry you'll cry, and if you want to feel sad you'll be open about it, and you're very calm and you're a very forgiving person, and I think there's this whole quality about you that is always wanting to learn from a different perspective. So be it through literature or watching something, or like that whole inquisitiveness is not just limited to books and other resources. It's also with people that, like you said, that I might befriend somebody, but you take that interest in them and you build on it, not because you have to, not because there's a guest in the house, but because you're genuinely interested. So I think that's the best part about you, that like I feel very happy. In fact, I feel very proud when like, this is my friend Dave. Like, even in London when we were there, I was like, let's all meet. I want everybody to meet Dave. And everybody was so delighted. So I was like, yeah, this is what I've been talking about. So yeah, I think that's the best part about you. And something that would need work is, I think you can be more open in your, like whatever you're feeling, although you do it to a very big extent, but then I don't know if it's resistance or you're shy or whatever, or maybe, like we are born into cultures which does not allow us to, sort of be very open with how we're feeling and expressing and all of that. But I think you could definitely, you know, use more support and like trust people around you a bit more, and like just know for yourself. And I think you know it, but it's just that communication bit that and yeah, while I'm talking about that, I think you put up with a lot of shit, like with regards to me also, and like just in general in life also. I'm like, no bro, you're not, like you can it's fine, like, or maybe that's your nature, but I think that, and I'm like, how is he tolerating this? And it is very self sacrificing. So I'm like, maybe you can sort of, have firmer boundaries, and it's fine. You don't have to be the nice person always, because you know who you are.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So on the first point, just like my comments on this. So the first point, I totally agree with that. Like I feel, and this is also something which I learned from you in some sense, is to, as I said, like that expression, that ease of expression.
Mm,
I've never been that way, but I would. It's something I
mm,
would like to be. It's not like I'm like just accepted that this is not me. Like I
mm,
cannot say I love you to anyone that I love so
mm.
easily that the
Yeah.
way you can. It's just not natural, but that's something I can build on. Like the frequency of me telling my dad, who I love the most in my life, that I love you is very low than it should be. For that matter, it's
Mm-hmm.
increased. It's become better now, but still, it's a long way to go. And that's
Yeah.
around with all of the people that I love and interact with in my day-to-day life. So, like, well taken. Like, for sure, I need work on that. And about the second part, I do agree to a certain extent of it,
Mm-hmm.
like when it affects me. But to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I feel it affect me a little less too. Like in my mind, like I choose what I let affect me. Like as much as other people, like for example, there are situations where other people like, how are you living with this sort of thing? But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you are thinking it out of an out of context way. But if you live in my head, it's not that big an issue for me to kind of
Mm-hmm.
address it, or kind of
Right.
that it creates such a big problem. But having said that, there are certain times where, because of the nature, I put up with stuff which actually affects me too. So like it's a
Mm-hmm.
mix of both. Like
Yeah.
actually affect me as much as kind of people would feel like it looks from the outside that it would be affecting him. I've maybe made myself in that way, that I'm not too attached with everything enough to be affect like not
Mm.
like the situations don't have enough power to have that effect on me. But having said that, there
Right.
are certain times where I feel that now, because it's in my nature, that I would
Mm-hmm.
put up with things. So that time I don't put the boundaries as well. So yeah, I think it's good feedback for me, things that I can think about and see what would work for me.
Amazing. I had a lovely time talking to you. First of all, I'm missing you guys so much. I'm missing you so much. So this was lovely, and I'm so glad we could do this. And thank you again so much. And all of what we've discussed, obviously, it didn't start there. like there were times where things were tense, and there were times when we would not be honest with each other and not communicate. So, like, what I'm just trying to say is that if you really are willing and if you have the intention, then it is possible, and we are an example of that. So, cheers, buddy.
Yeah, and thank you so much. It was wonderful for me too. Like so as I said, like I've been thinking about doing this, but yeah, I mean that part of me that kind of, as I was saying, that it's not comfortable just jumping into a situation and see how it will go. Like in my head, it's playing, okay, would I be good enough in front of a
Yeah.
camera, in front of a mic? Like would I be able to kind of convey things as easily as they are in my head, or as easily as I do like offline with
Mm.
people, like without that?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes maybe finances, sometimes maybe how much time would I be able to invest, all those things. And that's why I'm saying it's how easy that you can, like, you felt it and you could do it. So it's a start for me as well to kind of,
Yeah.
like, just go there and see for it. And even if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but at least I would have tried.
At
So
least you
yeah,
had
thank you so
fun.
much. Yeah, I had a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
getting me to do this, and it was fun. Hopefully, many more, like, and yeah, about the friendships, as you said, we have still have a long way to go. We have a lot of things to work
Absolutely.
on,
Yeah.
like
Mm.
grow in our life in our own way, add value to other people's life that we meet.
Mm.
I feel your pain reduces if you can take away someone else's pain.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, this is something that take away from me to kind of start working on things which I don't really want to do apart from what I already do, and start building towards that future to and start doing instead of like keeping it in my head. And this is a very good start, courtesy you. So thank you so much for that. We didn't have a plan when we started this conversation,
Yeah.
but I think we still to take it to
Yeah.
good dimensions, and we probably have value for whoever's watching this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you very soon.